Hello again, TCS viewers. It's Chris Nichols here from the Camera Store, and we've got a very special episode for you guys today for two reasons. Now, the first one is Jordan Drake's actually not shooting this one. He can't. Levi Holwell's stepping in to replace him for today. Levi assisted us on our Lilac Festival shoot, and he did a great job, so we got faith in him. The problem is Jordan's in the hospital for personal problems. Now, the second reason why this video is so special is because we have the brand new Sony A7S early, and I know you guys at home have been eagerly anticipating it. Here it is. Now, here's one thing about this camera. Everybody's excited about the 4K footage. It's 422 8-bit out of the HDMI, and it's clean. Here's the issue. This camera's so early to us, we don't have Atomos Shoguns yet to receive that signal. You can only go to external recorder. But we're going to show you everything we can do on this camera in 1080. Now, the other thing, the issues today, it is raining, it's getting pretty wet, and so am I. And so's the camera. Good thing it's weather sealed, and the light level's pretty low today too, and it's only going to get lower. But that's okay too. The S stands for sensitivity. This camera promises incredibly good low light performance, and we're going to put it to the test. We got a lot to cover. Let's get to it. Alright, so we're on the hunt for low light situations to test photos on in here, and it doesn't really get lower light than this disgusting exhaust vent that has something gross living in it. But I'm going to go ahead and take a shot, 6400 ISO, just kind of get an idea of what kind of image quality we're going to get. The other thing I want to look at too is the A7S is supposed to have better autofocusing in general, faster and also better in low light. So let's test it here. I've turned off the autofocus assist lamp. I want to see how the camera does on its own. You know, it's not bad here, guys. I'm actually pretty impressed. It had to hunt there. Let's take a shot. So again, looking at it here, 6400 ISO. I mean, again, it does look better than the A7 and A7R. It's still getting that softness that you tend to get with Sony's processing, but noise and pattern is very, very well handled here and quite reduced. Overall, impressive. One of the biggest complaints that we had on the Sony A7 and A7R was that very loud shutter, and not only loud, but it caused a lot of weird vibrations. We got a lot of blurry shots. Now the Sony A7S seeks to fix that with some new features. First off, electronic first curtain. It does help a lot. The shutter's still noisy, but listen to this. Not bad, and it definitely has much less vibration. We've got another feature though, completely silent shooting with a fully electronic shutter. Now listen to this, I promise you won't hear anything. Very, very quiet, totally silent. That addresses that issue. But remember, electronic shutters have their own issues too. Check out these shots here. Again, if you've got a lot of lateral movement, you're moving your camera, your subjects are moving, you're going to get rolling shutter in the shot with distortion like you'd see in video. And sometimes with certain lights like fluorescents that are cycling, you're going to get a weird effect here too. Still, it's a nice improvement. We're glad that the Sony A7S incorporates it. Now, of course, the Sony A7S is so new that we don't have RAW support, so I'm shooting JPEG today. 12 megapixels, I know that's a bit on the low end for full-frame SLR and mirrorless camera nowadays, but it's a good trade-off because this camera promises amazing dynamic range. All the JPEGs that I'm shooting today have the dynamic range optimizer turned on to get the most that we can out of it, and having a look at these photos, they're not bad, folks. I mean, these are shot at very high ISOs. We're still getting good sharpness, good dynamic range from the lights to darks. This camera does also promise to give us very good RAW files when we get a chance to test those. All right, now it's time to do our low light test for our stills photo, starting at 12,800 and moving steadily up from there. And again, very impressive. The low megapixel count, the large sensor, and the new processor combined to give us astoundingly good low light performance. Things are going to start to get soft around 51,000 ISO and higher, but still, it's incredibly impressive. It's very competitive against the Nikon D4S. This camera can certainly deliver in low light. In fact, the only issue I have with it is I'm worried that nobody's going to appreciate it for its stills content. Maybe because the megapixels are too low. We're going to have to see what the market holds, but overall the A7S does a great job. So Levi's really liking the shot. He's insisting I stand out here in the rain, but I'm going to rock the umbrella because you cannot underestimate the importance of this hair in our YouTube videos. It is practically a co-host. But it's a good time to also talk about the video capabilities on the A7S. The true fact of the matter is, folks, I don't think a lot of you out there are going to buy this camera for its stills capability. The A7, the A7R, they give you huge resolution and great low light performance as it is. People want this as a video camera, and that makes sense because it's got some awesome features. So let's talk about codecs and frame rates. Now I know you're getting AVC HD and MPEG-4, and that's not terribly exciting, but we are also getting XAVC, Sony's new platform codec. It's very user-friendly, 50 megabit per second data rates also give us a lot of room to push and pull, and it's a very, very high quality data rate. Now you're also going to get 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, pretty standard stuff, even 120 at lower resolutions. All right, so we did just take a little bit of a video clip here, and before I show it to you, I want to explain something to you that's brand new on the A7S. They've now incorporated picture profiles borrowed from the Pro video cameras, and right now I've shot that video on picture profile 7. What this gives us is a very flat, boring profile. If you look at it here, a lot of people look at this video and just say, gross, it looks terrible. There's no color, no vibrancy, but boost it a bit, grade it a bit, add a bit of sharpening, and look at that. The colors just pop. It gives us a lot of room, a lot of dynamic range to work with. It's very flexible. In fact, we shoot all of our videos on the FS700 in a very, very similar profile. It's a great feature, and you video guys are going to love it. Now, another great feature of the S-Log on the Sony A7S is a native ISO sensitivity of 3200, part of why it has such great low light performance. But remember, you're going to need to bring ND filters for sure. Now, check this clip out here. You can see that with S-Log, we always try to expose to the right of the histogram. The shadows are already boosted up and we're not getting any noise at all. And again, watch these highlights as they come down. Great recovery. The S-Log on the A7S gives us not only low light performance, but excellent dynamic range as well. As I'm shooting video on the A7S, I'm noticing some really nice features. Now, first off, movie buttons on the side of the grip. I'm never at risk of accidentally hitting it. The ports on the side, we get our mic jack, we get our headphone jack, those are essential. And our HDMI port out, there it is. Although it is one of those micro HDMIs. That's a complaint because we have to rely on this for 4K footage, and these things break and fall out all the time. I guess they didn't have space on the body. Getting into the menu, it's all very standard, but all very thoughtfully laid out. You're gonna get your zoom magnifiers, you're gonna get peaking, you're gonna get zebra. It's got all the stuff you're gonna need to do your videos. Now I'm noticing two things here as I shoot this video clip. First off, the new autofocusing system in continuous is actually really smooth. It's following moving subjects nicely, tracks quickly. I really, really like it. When it comes to stills, the autofocus, I haven't noticed much difference. One issue though, rolling shutter on this camera is not great, and I guess that's to be expected when we're doing a full frame sensor. We've got a couple examples here and it's pretty bad, so don't do a lot of movements on this camera side to side if you can help it. Now when it comes to handling, well, there's just not that much to say about it because this thing handles exactly the same as an A7 or A7R. The weight, the grip, the feel, it's all the same. I will say this though, Sony's have always been good at making the cameras customizable. And what I really like for video on this camera is that I can customize my custom buttons on the back for zebra, peaking, punch-in magnification. That does make it a very handy cinematic platform. Sony's incorporating their brand new Bions X processor on the Sony A7S. They're also doing the binning on processor level, and again, no line skipping on this full sensor scan. This should give us better moire, aliasing, and sharpness in our video. As a test, we compared it against the GH4 at 1080, and you can see here the Sony does a great job, very sharp results, and that 15 stops of dynamic range is a definite improvement. Keep in mind though, we did this test at 1080 because the GH4 can output 4K and the Sony A7S at this point cannot. Yeah, we have nothing to record to. Also keep in mind the GH4, when it does 4K, is 10-bit and this is still only 8-bit, but both are 422. Still, the Sony has a big advantage with that full frame sensor. So it's starting to come down pretty heavy here now. We're getting pretty wet and it's also getting darker. So we're going to look for some locations now to test the low light performance. But you know, while I'm thinking about it, one of the other cool features on this A7S is a new dual record feature. What this lets us do is a lower bitrate quality 720p video at the same time as we record our high quality XAVC to the card at the same time. It's a neat feature if you want to have just a quick edit or something you can throw up on a website. It's a neat thing. All right, so we've been waiting for this. This is what we really wanted to test, this full frame, high sensitivity, low megapixel sensor. This video that you're watching started at 3200 ISO, basically from pitch black, and it's gonna go up to 409,600. This camera is just simply incredible. I don't know what else to say about it. Just watch the video and you'll see for yourself. All right, here's my final thoughts on the Sony A7S. Although it looks like an A7 and an A7R, it's a totally different camera thanks to this very unique sensor. Low light performance is what Sony was going for, and that's what they got. On the still side, I think you're gonna be disappointed overall, and it hurts me to say that because image quality is very good, but the low megapixels are gonna kind of let you down. The slow autofocusing doesn't compare to other mirrorless, although it is improved on this body. And also the shutter. I like the electronic first curtain, but the shutter is still loud and obnoxious as always. It's video where you're gonna love this camera. The Sony A7S is just giving you amazing high ISO performance, incredibly good dynamic range, far improved this season. And this camera's got great handling and great customizability. The only thing that's gonna let me down in the video side, the 4K output. I know you kind of have to have that now to sell video, but it's still only 8-bit and you know, you gotta go an external recorder. Still, this camera, it's very unique, I'll give it that. The Sony A7S, keep your eye out for it, especially if you like to shoot in the dark.